What if I told you that Princess Diana's final wishes were quietly changed behind closed doors, and almost no one knew for years? What if the woman the world called the People's Princess carefully planned her legacy, only for key parts of it to be rewritten after her death? When I stepped into public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did, but I had no idea how overwhelming that attention could become. Now imagine living under that spotlight every single day. Princess Diana knew the world was watching, so when she wrote her will, she did it with purpose. She wanted to protect her children. She wanted to provide for her godchildren. She wanted to make sure her legacy stayed in the right hands. But what if almost none of it happened the way she planned? Diana left behind more than £21 million. She wrote a clear letter explaining who should receive her jewelry.
When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did, but I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become.
Her personal belongings and her money. She trusted her mother and her sister to respect those wishes. Yet within months of her passing, they went to court, and everything changed. This is the story of Princess Diana's final will, the quiet legal move that reshaped her estate, the disappointed godchildren, the truth behind the iconic sapphire engagement ring, and the inheritance that helped shape the futures of two very different princes. And once you hear it, you may question everything you thought you knew. Diana's will, written at 32, never updated. Princess Diana signed her will on June 1, 1993. She was just 32 years old. At the time, she was still married to Prince Charles and carrying out royal duties. The Panorama interview, the divorce, and the tragedy in Paris were still years away. Her will was surprisingly simple compared to other members of the royal family. Many royal wills are sealed for decades. Prince Philip's, for example, will remain sealed for 90 years. Diana's will, however, was made public in 1998, and its contents surprised many. She named her mother, Frances Shandkid, and her sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, as executors and trustees. They were responsible for distributing her estate. Originally, Diana had included her private secretary, Patrick Jeffson, as a co-executor, but after he resigned in 1996, she amended her will and replaced him with her sister. The day after signing her will, on June 2, 1993, Diana wrote a separate letter of wishes. This personal document explained exactly how she wanted her belongings divided. She asked that all her jewelry be given to her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, so that their future wives could one day wear the pieces. She wanted 3/4 of her personal belongings, clothing, photographs, furniture, artwork, to go to William and Harry. The remaining quarter was to be shared among her 17 godchildren. Her estate was valued at around £21 million. The money was placed in trust for William and Harry, who were meant to inherit their full shares at age 25. She also left £50,000 to her trusted butler, Paul Burrell, who had worked with her for 10 years. A separate £100,000 fund was created for her sons and their future families. Diana wrote her will with love, with clarity, and with trust. But after her death, nearly every major detail would be altered. The secret court order. Princess Diana died on August 31, 1997, in a car crash in Paris. She was 36 years old. Prince William was 15. Prince Harry was 12. The nation mourned. The world watched. And soon after, the legal process surrounding her estate began. In December 1997, just 4 months after her funeral, her mother and sister went to the High Court of Justice in England. They requested what's known as a variation order. This legal move allowed them to change how Diana's estate would be distributed in ways that differed from what she had written in both her will and her letter of wishes. And the court approved it. The court approved the changes, and they were major. First, the age William and Harry would inherit their full shares was raised from 25 to 30. They could begin receiving interest from the trust at 25, but full control, that would now come 5 years later. The official reasoning was concern. The idea was that two young men growing up under global media pressure might not be ready to handle such a large fortune at 25. On paper, that sounds protective. But here's the key detail. Diana had specifically chosen 25. That was her decision, her number. And the change was made while her sons were still minors, meaning they were not consulted about a decision that directly affected their inheritance. Then came the more controversial shift. Diana had clearly expressed that 25% of her personal belongings should be shared among her 17 godchildren. Based on estimates at the time, each child could have received items worth around $160,000. That wasn't just symbolic, that was significant. Instead, the executors decided each godchild would receive just one item, selected by them. Many families later described the gifts as small household objects, like a coffee set or a decorative figurine, not deeply personal keepsakes, not meaningful heirlooms, just single items that felt far removed from what Diana appeared to have envisioned. And here's what made it even more shocking. These changes were not widely known for years. The godchildren's parents were not informed beforehand. They had no opportunity to question the court petition. The details only surfaced during a separate legal case involving Paul Burrell, who was accused of removing items from Diana's estate. When the families learned what had happened, many were stunned. Some felt deeply hurt. Legally, the court allowed the changes because Diana's letter of wishes used softer language, words like discretion and wish, rather than firm, binding instructions. That single word, discretion, gave her mother and sister the legal authority to adjust how her belongings were distributed. One word, huge consequences.
Why delay the inheritance? But this raises an uncomfortable question. Was the decision to delay the inheritance from 25 to 30 truly about maturity and protection, or were there other factors at play? Some royal observers have speculated that the Spencer family may have indirectly benefited from the delay. For years, Diana's belongings, including her famous wedding dress, were displayed at Althorp House, drawing paying visitors from around the world. Those exhibitions generated substantial revenue. There is no confirmed evidence that this influenced the court's decision, but the timing and the financial context have led some to question whether more was happening behind the scenes. It remains an open debate. The godchildren, forgotten promises? Then there are the godchildren. Diana had 17 of them, and by all accounts, she cared about them deeply. The fact that she wrote her request just one day after signing her will shows how important it was to her. She asked for 25% of her personal property to be shared among them. If her original plan had been followed, each godchild might have received items worth around $160,000, not just financially valuable, but emotionally meaningful. Her collection included personal photographs, handwritten notes, clothing from historic moments, artwork, and keepsakes that carried deep sentimental weight. Instead, the executors chose to give each godchild only one item. They selected the items themselves. No personal choice, no major inheritance, just a single object. For some families, that decision felt like a quiet erasing of what Diana had intended. The godchildren and their families did not choose the items they received. The executors chose for them. Many families were given small household objects, plate sets, decorative figurines, simple keepsakes that felt distant from the woman they remembered. Some even described the gifts as tacky mementos. For children who were meant to receive a meaningful share of her personal belongings, the reality felt painfully small. What made it worse was the silence. For years, the families didn't even know the full details of Diana's original wishes. The letter of wishes was not made public during probate. The executors did not inform the families about its contents before going to court to request changes. So when the truth finally surfaced during a separate legal case, the reaction was strong. Many felt blindsided. Some felt deeply betrayed. Diana had chosen these families to be part of her children's lives. She had trusted them, yet their children were quietly removed from a major part of her legacy. Today, legal experts often point to Diana's case as a warning. A letter of wishes can express intent, but if it uses flexible language instead of firm instructions, it may not hold legal power. Words like wish and discretion leave room for interpretation, and interpretation can change everything. The lesson is simple but powerful. If something truly matters, it must be written directly into the will itself, not left in a side letter. Diana's true legacy, beyond the money. So what does all of this really mean? On paper, Princess Diana left her fortune to her two sons, with smaller provisions for her godchildren and her trusted butler. But the deeper story reveals more about trust, family dynamics, and the consequences of legal wording than most people ever realized. Diana wrote her will at 32. She believed she had time to revise it, time to adjust it as her life changed. She trusted that her mother and sister would follow her instructions closely. She believed that the handwritten letter she signed the next day would clearly reflect her true intentions.
She didn't expect that those details would later be altered. Yet despite the legal changes and the controversy, her real legacy was never just financial. Her sapphire engagement ring shines on the hand of Catherine, Princess of Wales, just as Diana had hoped her son's future wives would wear her jewelry. Every time it appears at a state event, it quietly connects past and present in a way no court order could undo. Her money gave Harry the ability to step away and build an independent life, something Diana herself often struggled to achieve within the royal system. When Harry told Oprah that his mother's inheritance made everything possible, he made one thing clear: even after her death, Diana was still protecting her children. And in many ways, that may be the most powerful legacy of all. Although her lover's knot tiara technically returned to the crown after her divorce, it has become forever linked to Diana. Today, it is famously worn by Catherine at major state occasions, creating a visual echo of the past. Every time it appears, it reminds the world of Diana's elegance, her warmth, and her rare ability to connect with ordinary people. That presence still lingers. Then there is Althorpe, Diana's childhood home and her final resting place. She is buried on a private island in the middle of the estate's lake, surrounded by trees and silence. It is not open to the public. It is peaceful, protected. William and Harry will not inherit Althorpe. Under long-standing inheritance rules that favor the male line, the estate will pass to Diana's nephew, Louis Spencer. However, both princes will always have access to the island where their mother rests. Diana's brother, Charles Spencer, has publicly said it is important that his nephews can visit whenever they wish. Princess Diana wrote her will at 32, believing she had time. Time to revise it, time to perfect it, time to adjust it as life unfolded. She didn't get that time. The people she trusted made legal changes after her death, but there were things they could never alter: her love for her children, her instinct to protect them, and her determination that her legacy would endure. 28 years later, her ring still shines under palace lights. Her money still provides security. Her sons carry her influence into very different futures in a world that has never stopped caring about her story. No court order could rewrite that. This is the full story of Princess Diana's final will: the trust that was tested, the court order that reshaped her wishes, the godchildren who received less than expected, the conflicting accounts of the engagement ring, and the inheritance that quietly shaped two royal lives. Now I want to hear from you. Whose version of the ring story do you believe, Harry's or Paul Burrell's? And do you think the executors made the right call? If you found this story insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future deep dives into the royal world.